Hola, SAP developers. Welcome to the second session of today's DevTourFest 2024 integration track. Before we start, I just want to let you know to please feel free to drop us your questions on the chat window, as I will be monitoring it and we will be answering your questions there or interactive during the session. So this is a session about, every SAP integration developer favorite web browser extension. Yep, I'm talking about CPI Helper. So today we have Dominic, who is the creator of CPI Helper, a well-known tool that helps you and me personally develop my integration flows faster, right? But without any further delay, hola, Dominic, over to you.
Okay, hola, Antonio. And hello, everyone. My name is Dominic Beckbauer, and thank you for joining me in this session, Speed Up Your SAP Cloud Integration Development with CPI Helper. Thank you for letting me speak here and introduce this great tool. Let me switch on the video again. So sometimes it's blurring a little bit. This talk is about a browser plugin. It helps you with developing your integration flows in SAP Cloud Integration. So if you are working with SAP Cloud Integration, this tool will improve your development experience, and I will teach you everything that you need to know about it. In case you already know this, I'm pretty sure you are interested, for example, in the plugins feature that we will explore, and this will make your life even easier. So, and at the end, I have some insider stories from the development. I think it's worth to stay with me for the next hour. But let me introduce myself. So, my name is Dominic Beckbauer. I'm like you, SAP Cloud Integration Developer and architect. And I'm working with SAP Cloud Integration for a long time. So since it was called HANA Cloud Integration, that's a long time, so I don't know if some of you remembers. And I'm a manager of a small German company called Kingvolutions. So we are doing integration topics in SAP and non-SAP scenarios. And additional, and probably this is the reason why I'm here, I started the CPI Helper 4.5 years ago. And to give you some personal information, I'm 35 years old. I live in Cologne and studied industrial engineering. And this is a picture of me traveling in Mauritius. And when I asked my girlfriend about a picture that I can use for the presentation, if she has one, I got tons of pictures with me sitting in front of my computer. So I think I spend way too much time in front of a computer. But you often find me traveling, cycling, or I have a 3D printer that I use regularly. And actually, I didn't really sleep well tonight, so I'm not speaking to so many people normally. But first of all, so it would be really nice to know about you, and if you can write in the comments. So if you're using CPI Helper, or just to get a feeling, so if you never heard about CPI Helper before, and it would be really nice. So I will read the comments later, and I think also Antonio is monitoring them. So, but let's get started. The agenda is quite simple. So we try to we have some theory, but we try to keep this short. So what is SAP Cloud Integration and what is the CPI Helper? Probably, at least for cloud integration, you already know this. And then we have a demo. So I will show you live features of the CPI Helper, and we will develop a little or debug a little integration flow together. So I will teach you how this tool is used, and so hopefully you will not look at an integration flow without the extra features of CPI Helper again. And finally, I think we have some time for questions and answers, and I have some. I will tell you how you can participate, and I have some insider stories from the development for you. Let's get started. So what is SAP Cloud Integration? And I promise to keep this short because most of you know what it is. And sometimes it's called Cloud Integration or the short version CI, but For example, if you hear me speaking, I often called it Cloud Platform Integration, CPI. That's the old name. Somehow I stick to this. And yeah, I mentioned it's also called HANA Cloud Integration, but that's a really old name from medieval times. Yeah, but it's for you, it's important to know everything is the same. So yeah, no matter which synonym I use, it's always the SAP Cloud Integration as part of the integration suite that is running on the SAP Business Technology platform. Yeah, and probably I will use all synonyms in my talk somehow. So yeah, don't be confused. And what is it doing? So it's an integration middleware that connects SAP software to non-SAP software or SAP software to SAP software. And you can use some kind of adapters and APIs, and you can add some business logic. So in general, you have like a no-code, low-code tool to create some kind of data and process pipelines. And for example, if we check the screen here, let me switch to laser pointer. This is how an integration flow looks like. So we have a start here. We have an HTTPS inbound trigger. So, and you see this is calling the main function. This is the main function here. And it's doing something. It's doing a process direct. So it's calling another integration flow. And then doing something. We see we have a JSON to XML converter. So it's doing some transformation. And probably if we would see the end, it's probably sending the data somehow to another system or to SFTP server or something like this. So yeah, if you want to connect your SuccessFactors with your S4 or your SAP software to your ERP or whatever, then you can really easily do this with a cloud integration. Yeah, and so now you ask yourself, okay, that's really nice. That's something I want to use, but what is the relation to CPI Helper? And the CPI Helper is a browser plugin that's available for Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. But be a bit careful with Firefox because SAP does not support Firefox fully, so it's a bit limited with features sometimes. And what this plugin is doing, it adds some new features to the UI. So some extra buttons, some features that SAP somehow missed. And so normally working in CPI or cloud integration means you have a lot of tabs open. So you have one tab to activate trace, you have one tab to see the messages that went through your iFlow, one tab to check the logs, and maybe one for tracing, and so on and so on. And what CPI Helper is doing, it tries to reduce it to just one tab. So you can do everything from the design time, so where you are developing your CPI Helper. So it means you can switch on the trace, you can see the last messages, and of course you can check the error message that they have. So for example, you see this line here, that's something that is additional by CPI Helper, so that you don't have this in the standard configuration. And here, this little sidebar here, you see at this time here, there was a message. And of course, if you would click it, you would see the error message, but this is looking good. So everything is green here. And of course, you can check the logs. Then you can delete variables if you have some, for example, sometimes you have a variable like last run. So where if you're doing some calling of an API, sometimes you need to delete this, and you can easily do it without switching to another tab. Everything directly in the designer. And it feels like you guys really like the plugin because if we check the statistics, we have round about 25,000 users, 24,500. It's sometimes not really clear because the different browsers have different metrics how to calculate the users. Main browser is Chrome, so many of you use Chrome, around about 19,000. Edge is on track, so its Edge support is only since 1 or 2 years, and but it's really increasing a lot. And yeah, we have a little community of Firefox users. So in general, I really like Firefox, so I support that.
Dominic,
Yeah.
you mentioned about how people like CPI Helper, so I just want to share with you some of the comments that are on YouTube about it.
Oh, nice.
So we
Okay.
have a couple of newbies, which is perfectly fine. So you will learn about CPI Helper today. But some of the comments here are like some use it since day one, another one from since day zero. Gregor says that he can't live without CPI Helper.
Okay.
Barbara says that she can't imagine CPI without CPI Helper.
Okay.
So, and Christopher even calls it a lifesaver. So yeah, you can see that lots of people use it, CPI Helper. Now, I am part of the Firefox users. And I do know that there
Oh,
are some issues with that, but then yeah, we aren't that many. But yeah, I am part of those Firefox users. And you know what? NSUI is asking when is he going to get the extension for Safari? But he's still waiting for it. But yeah, I hope he
okay.
has it. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, Safari sounds interesting. So actually, I never really checked if that's if we can. So there's like one manifest type that on this we are developing. So with functions that we are using, and to be honest, I'm not really sure if Safari has the same functionality or if we had to write it from scratch. But I will check. So and actually, I also like his Flash pipe. So. Yeah, so maybe I will have a look, or we can have a little chat together. Also, would be interesting to adapt FlashPipe something, or to that you can exit it from CPI Helper, so that you have a button and you jump over to something. That's something that we really could think about. So, but I would also talk about the plugins feature later. So maybe this is something that might be helpful here. But it's really nice to hear. So it started when I just wanted to have this trace button because I was so annoyed that you know how this works. So you start a trace, and then like 11 minutes later, you want to restart your message, but you still have this window open, so you have to go to info, then back to trace, and normally you deploy it, but you forgot to activate trace. So I was super annoyed about this, and I thought, okay, maybe that it must be easy to add a trace button here. And at this time I saw someone who added some new functionalities to the Gmail web interface, and there was a possibility to add some JavaScript with plugins, and I thought, okay, maybe let me try this for CPI. And it took some while. It was really hard to get the CSRF token that is used, so like a security token that is used to activate the trace. But I managed this somehow, and yeah, this was how the CPI helper was born. And it was really so in the beginning. So maybe let's go to the next slide. But actually, thank you for the great star rating. I think the only thing is Chrome with 4.97 stars, but I think that's okay. So we have one 4-star rating here, probably for a reason. I can live with that. And yeah, thank you so much for supporting me like here. Or it's not only me, it's a bunch of developers working on it, but I will also come to this later. And maybe let's check the statistics. So when I started the CPI helper, it had just a few installation, and it's growing quite linear. And a lot of people are joining, and this is just Chrome, so it's in total it's a little bit more. And what country, Antonio, do you think has the most installations of CPI helper?
Well, I actually know that most of these sort of SAP integration developers are based in India. So I would say India or Germany. So those are my two bets.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what the comments are thinking. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
you are totally right. So if we see the distribution here, the biggest one is India with 31%. So 31% of all the users or installations, users and installations is sometimes a little bit different here. So 31% are coming from India, and followed by Germany, it's only 9%. But yeah, if you see it in total, oh, actually, we have a big community in Brazil. Didn't know that, so super nice. Nice to have you here. And but it's also like 35% other countries, and in total we have 129 countries using the CPI helper, and that's super amazing. I mean, the UN I think counts 205 countries. I'm not sure about this information right now, but more half of this has at least someone who installed CPI Helper last month. So, for example, last month we had an installation from Mauritius, we had one from Madagascar, we had one from Isle of Man. So I don't know if there was someone on holiday and thought, okay, maybe I use the CPI Helper. No, I had no idea, but this is really amazing how many countries are using the CPI Helper. And actually, CPI Helper will travel way more than I will ever do, I guess. So, thank you all for this. And maybe we have a little elephant here in the room, and this is this one. So, I don't know, maybe if you have a guess what happened here.
Was that when Google changed something with Chrome extensions, something like that?
Okay, Antonia, to be honest, I have no idea. So,
Okay.
so this is probably the biggest mystery of the CPI helper. So that was in July 2022. So there was from one day to the next day, there was an installation increase from thousands of installation. I was thinking, oh my God, what's happening here? I also was thinking about, okay, maybe they changed the statistics somehow. But you see this little spike here that's actually Christmas. So you can really easily see Christmas when a lot of people don't use their computer, then it does not count as installation. And 1 year later, in July 2023, it decreased a lot. So my guess is that a big company by accident installed CPI Helper on all their computers. And 1 year later, they had in their calendar a mark when they needed to recheck if they still want to use it. And then they found out, oh my God, we don't want to have this installed for all users, but only for these 5 developers who asked for this. And this is what I think. But I don't know. So if someone knows more about this and can solve this mystery, it would be really, really nice. So write in the comments or write me a message. It would be really, really nice to solve this because I have no clue. I really have no clue.
It's a huge spike as well. So
it is. I mean, it was like 6,000 and it was increasing to, let's say 25,000, something like this.
Wow.
So I can only imagine a big company was installing CPI Helper. But I didn't want to install Google Analytics or something like this. So actually, I have also no information about this. So yeah, but would be really nice. So maybe someone knows no more. And yeah, maybe before we go to the demo, let's talk about the features that we will explore. So we will work on a little integration flow, and together we will see how we can activate trace. We will explore the message sidebar where you see the messages. We will see how easy it is to trace messages from there, and we will check the logs, and we will explore which plugins they might activate, what is interesting for you. And the plugins is quite a new feature. That's a feature where it is possible also for community that is easier to contribute code, and you have some kind of abstraction layer to access features of the CPI helper. Okay, let's come to the demo. Let me share my other screen.
I can tell you that some of the audience at least have made comments regarding the tracing functionality and how it's a very useful tool and something that they use on a day-to-day basis. So lots of comments related to that.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, actually, this was the reason why I installed it. So I'm probably a heavy user of CPI Helper, and this is how it got started. So because I really feel the pain how it is developing without CPI Helper. So, or it's not bad, but if you're used to CPI Helper, it's really hard if you have a customer, for example, who does not know, who does not allow you to install Chrome plugins, then at least my development time is 10% longer, 15% longer, maybe even more. Let's check that out. So we have Chrome here, and I prepared a little iFlow for you. Oh, yeah, okay, I need to log in again. I have an iFlow for you, and if you check the extensions, CPI Helper is not installed right now. So we will do it the traditional way. My biggest fear was actually that CPI is not working, but it seems to work. That's great. And normally it works, so probably there was no reason for this. This is an iFlow that we have here, and you see we have a start timer here, so that's on run once. So whenever we click the deploy button, this iFlow will directly start. And it's not doing something meaningful, but we see it's calling here the main process here. That's some kind of how I develop my iFlow. So normally I try to separate the start from the content, so then I can easily add another inbound trigger, for example. But or for development, that's sometimes easier to have the start timer with run once for debugging. And if we check here, so there are two different routes. There's a router, and it's doing something here, sending to HTTP. Really interesting. We have a process direct, so it's calling another iFlow. We persist the message. We log the message, and at the end there's an HTTP outbound. So maybe yeah. So let's debug this because it has at least one problem. No, it has many problems, but we will debug it together. So what do we do? So let's activate trace. That's the first thing that we need to do because we need to activate it anyway. So yeah, let's wait and let's go to monitor. Probably I won't tell you anything new here. So let's click here. The first time is always hard, so it takes some while to go to the right tab, but then we have the tab open, so that's not that painful anymore. So yeah, we activated trace, so let's deploy it. And yeah, I think from here I can also duplicate this, and then we can check the message monitor. So monitor message processing. Yeah, it failed. I think we expected this. So it says no credentials for ABCDEFG. Okay, so let's jump back here and credentials. Okay, this is quite an easy error message, but of course we have to figure out which element throw this message. So credentials, let's check here. It doesn't use credentials, no client certificate, no private key alias. Okay, that's wrong. It does not take this. Then we have the process direct, but okay, we know process direct don't use credential artifacts. Okay, and then probably the last one here is this HTTP adapter, and we see it has a credential name ABCDEFG. Okay, so there seems to be something wrong here, and of course I know it should not use one, so that's fine. But you see that took a long time also to figure out which element really throw this error. Now it was easy because credentials, that is clear. That is used somewhere, but if you sometimes the error messages are not that clear. So yeah, let's deploy it, and hopefully then yeah, trace is still on. That's good. So normally, probably if it would take longer, then we had to activate trace again. And let's see. Yes, it is completed, and yeah, everything works fine. So perfect. This is how you debug your iFlow without the CPI helper. But now let's activate the CPI helper, and I make a little change here that we see it's then it goes the other route because there are also some problems here. Let's go to extensions. Let's activate CPI helper, and maybe just for you to install it, just go to Chrome Web Store and type in CPI helper, and yeah, this is the one. So same on Chrome, on Firefox, really easy to install. So we installed it. Let's refresh the page. And it hacks somehow in the CPI in the user interface. And for example, sometimes it does not survive the authorization process. So if you log in again, then sometimes, for example, these buttons you cannot view. but then just press F5. That's a problem that we are aware of, but it's really hard that that's some browser issue related to CPI to CPI Helper. And yeah, we see something changed a little bit. We have some new buttons here. So we have logs, we have trace. Trace is great. So we want to have activate trace. So you see trace activated, just one click. We have the list of messages here, have some informations here that we will check later, and we will check later the plugin section here. But for now, yeah, let's deploy it. And no need for changing tab. Zack, you see here it is. And we have this button here for tracing. So yeah, we click on it and you see, okay, it started here, everything that's green, that was without a problem. And then you see here process direct. Here was a problem. So, and let's check the error message. Okay, no consumer available. Perfect. That's something that I can fix. And you see how fast that is and how easy it is to really see which visually, like which way the iFlow was going. And of course, you can also see this in the trace tab, but you have to open it. And actually, it's sometimes a little bit slow, to be honest. So yeah, I think that's way easier. Just here, click the button. And so let's fix that. It's subflow 1. That's something that I know. And hopefully, we get a green message. Yes, we get a green message. So like if we zoom out a little bit, then we see, okay, it's going to the end HTTP. Perfect. And yeah, I think that was way easier to debug this iFlow this way. And also we see, for example, here now we have the persist message and MPL logs. And I think at least for persist message, I'm not sure if there's an UI for now. So maybe let's check. We have the first button here. And then we can easily check, okay, here this was the run logs, the MPL logs. This is the persist logs. And of course, we can, you don't have to deal with this ugly or minimized JSON or XML. So you just click beautify. And then, yeah, we have a beautified formatted version. And of course, you can copy it, you can download it, whatever you need. And also you see, for example, how big your payload is. But that's also something, this was now the log. But for example, if we want to see, okay, what is going to the process direct here, we can just click on it if we are on trace mode. And then here you see, okay, these were the properties at this, before this step. Here are the headers before this step. And yeah, also you see the body, of course, you can beautify this. And that really helps in me as a developer. This really helps to speed up my integrations. And also, if we check the info field here, so you see, for example, we have a local variable that was written, so we can check it here. Hello developers. We can download it. We can delete it if we want. So if we don't want to get rid of it, because we want to refresh the iFlow to information before, we can easily do it here. And maybe just for you to explore the logs feature, it's actually the same that we have when you click here on the message sidebar, but it gives you the possibility to go further back in time. And then you can see all the logs that you have. Okay, this was a message that was the upper flow, the upper branch without a message, so we don't see one here. Yeah, and I think that already helps a lot. And what is really new is a feature called plugins. I think we talked about this a little bit, and let's try to explore some. So I think what is really nice is a simple reference, and let's check out the timeline plugin. So we are closing this, and whenever you restart the message tab, we see, okay, we have now a simple reference here. Let's open it, and here you have, for example, a lot of information that helps you in your daily development process. So for example, if you go to camel simple expressions, so like expressions that you can use in your iFlow, for example, to write a property somewhere, or to create a new property, for example, here with with the current date timestamp or so. To be honest, I don't remember this. So I start, okay, dollar date, and then I stop because I have no idea. Like, was it small d? Was it capital D? No idea. So, but here you can just copy and paste this. And also, for example, like this function, what is possible here to edit the strings. I think it's really nice to have the most used information directly in your integration flow for copy and pasting. And also you see we now have one more icon here. That's from the timeline plugin. So if we want to see, so we know here's a process direct, but actually what is it doing? So it's going to another iFlow. We can maybe check at least the name or the address of the iFlow, but is it sending the data to another iFlow, or maybe it failed, but not because of itself, but because of another iFlow. And yeah, let's check this here in the timeline view. And we see, okay, it was not only subflow 1 where it was sent to, but it was subflow 1 also called subflow 2. So, and maybe if subflow 2 was having a problem, then you could easily see this here. And you don't have to go to the message monitor and then try out to find out the ID. And so this is here just with one click. And I think this is a really amazing plugin, also contribution by the community. And let me check if I didn't forget anything that I wanted to show you. But I think that these are the most features and the most used features. And even if you use these features, then you can speed up your integration time and your developer experience by a huge factor, I think. So and it seems like if we read the comments, you guys have the same experience. So that's really, really nice. So let's jump back to the slides.
I just have one question now that we're talking about plugins, and I noticed that there were a few plugins there. So what will be the process to sort of, I don't know, imagine one of the viewers right now has an idea for a plugin and they would like to contribute a plugin to CPI Helper. What's the process like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I also have a slide later to how to participate. But maybe let's talk about that because we are on the right place here. So you can go to our GitHub page and we have one section here, plugins. We have a README for this. And there you can explore, okay, which options do you have? So what do I need to create a plugin? It's actually a JSON-based approach where you can write some JavaScript functions. And you can then add some buttons to different places here. So you can also, like if you have a Groovy script, you can also add a button in the Groovy script, for example. And you can do this, and you need to fork the repository, and then make your changes. So add a new plugin to the plugin folders, and then you can make a pull request, and then people who are working on the CPI Helper, so me and some others, we were checking it. We will, and maybe so we will integrate this in the main repository, and then this is available for everyone. But of course, so we don't want to have something that where someone just made some ads for his company. That's something that we don't want to have. We really want to have high quality plugins that really have are good for the developers and help you in your daily life. So it's we try to have high quality here. So this is how you would start with a plugin. But let's jump back to the slides. So okay, and actually it's this was a really good point. So let's go to the next point is participants. So it's not only me. So maybe I'm a little bit the face of the CPI Helper because I started it, but actually it's not only me. It's a lot of other people's. And for example, here you see some contributors, and it's really, really nice to work with them together. And it's really a community-driven project right now. So for example, we have Omkar, he's also the developer of the Dark CPI plugin. He did a lot of UI improvements. And yeah, this really, I would not have done this myself. So it's really, really nice to have people who are missing a feature and just add this feature to the CPI helper. And it's really great to work with these guys together. It makes a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, it's also my first open source project. So yeah, now we are starting to get some process how to work together and how we work with the repository and so on. And it's really also like a learning experience, I think, for all of us. Yeah, and not to forget Figaf, who's sponsoring the CPI help a little bit. So otherwise, it would not be possible to have a release like each 1 and 2 months. So that just gives some extra time to work on it. So yeah, it's really, really great to work with this community together. And you also see like the commits over time, they increased a little bit. So yeah, of course, there are more features means more bug fixes. What's also a commit. But in general, I think if you check CPI Helper like 1 year before or 2 years before, the features increased a lot. And also we are getting more and more stable. So yeah, we had a lot of issues with, for example, URL changes in the CPI. So when this integration suite URL was changed, and then, for example, the Chinese integration suite has different URL structure. There were some changes that really we struggled with that for a long time. So to really figure out each combination. Yeah, and with the community, that was really great. So someone added an issue and we could ask, hey, what's your URL? And then I think right now we are quite stable. I know one bug is bothering me, but that's already fixed. And so we will have a new bug fix the next days, I guess, a new release. So whenever you see this little info one, that's a lot of them are just bug fixes. But yeah, if back to the question, how to participate, you can open issues on GitHub. Of course, install CPI Helper first. So yeah, you need to have installed the CPI Helper, and you can open issues on GitHub. And if you find a bug or want a new features, and I guess most of the times bugs are really fixed really fast. So the main problem is then the time it takes to the stores. So Chrome takes 1 to 2 days. So we do a new release. It takes 1 to 2 days for them to check whatever they are checking. And Edge takes a week for checking. So like if you have a bug and that's really bothering you, then go to Chrome and use Chrome because it's way faster with pushing changes. And of course, there are other ways to help us. So of course, documentation needs a lot of improvement. And yeah, if you want, you can also become part of the development team. So if you like exploring historically grown JavaScript, then you are on the right place. So yeah, it would be really nice to see some more developers contributing to CPI Helper. Yeah, and even if you never ever contributed to open source project, so neither did I before. So yeah, I think it's a really gentle community, and yeah, just get in contact with us on GitHub, for example. And I promised you I have some insider stories at the end. So yeah, or some stories from the development process. So I think we have the story about, so SAP got in contact with me one day and they said, oh, hey, Dominic, we need to talk. We have a problem. And yeah, that was actually the first time SAP got in contact with me. And I was a little bit, oh my God, so do we have some copyright problems or regress? I don't know. And yeah, it seems like that the CPI helper was creating a lot of trouble. They were responsible for a fundamental amount of load on the SAP servers. So, and you can imagine this. So if you have like 1,000 users that are at the same time using the CPI helper, Each of them has maybe 2 tabs open, and yeah, CPI Helper is making a request to SAP servers each 3 seconds. That can create a lot of pressure on the server, so, and also on the database, because like we are querying back, which is there a new message coming? And yeah, so we got a little bit in trouble here, but we agreed, okay, we will fix this, and now we have some kind of load management. So for example, if your tab is in the background, then it will not fetch the SAP APIs each 3 seconds, but each each 30 minutes, 30 seconds. And for example, if you focus the tab, then we have an event. Okay, hey, that now is the time to catch the data again. So this is something that we changed here, but this is something that we never thought about. Okay, this might be a problem, but yes, CPI Helper is growing and growing and growing, and these are the things that we need to where we are responsible for now, and it seems like it became a fundamental part of SAP developing community. And for example, so there are some rumors. Maybe if you also know more about this, write in the chat. So if you do a training in Waldorf about integration speed, so it depends a little bit on the trainer. But what I really liked is I heard from 2 people that the first thing that you do is install the CPI helper. And that was really amazing when I heard that. So yeah, maybe if some of you know more about this, hopefully, I think this is true because I heard it from 2 different places, different people. Yeah, maybe write in the comments. And yeah, and what I'm really, really proud of. So you see this picture here. And of course, you see the CPI helper is installed here. But the question is, where does this picture come from? And it is actually from TechEd 2023 in Bangalore. So I was there with a colleague. And by the way, it was really, really great. So yeah. So if you have the chance to go to India and to Bangalore, it was really, really nice. There were a lot of workshops, training sessions, and so on. And I saw that CPI Helper is really installed on SAP computers, and that they really also use internally the CPI Helper. That's really, really great. I mean, SAP is one of the biggest technology companies in Germany. I think probably the biggest one. And yeah, I'm a bit proud that they also use the CPI helper, and it's not only the community here. So yeah, looking forward for the next TechEd. So I'm really, yeah, I will check if I see the CPI helper installed on the computers. So yeah, and if someone is also on the next TechEd, I think in Florida, my company will be. So yeah, just get in contact with us. Would be really nice to also connect in person with the community. And yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, from my side. So if you want to know more about CPI Helper, yeah, you can visit our GitHub page. There's also another open source project by my company that's about observability with iFlows in Grafana, what's also open source. Yeah, I think we have some time for question and answers, but also it would be really nice to know more about you if you learned something today, and maybe there's someone who used the CPI helper for the first time. It would be really nice to read this in the comments. Yeah, so far.
Yeah, so there are, well, you have to go through that chat because there are many, 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 many messages just saying
Okay.
how great or how good, how CPI Helper simplifies the day-to-day basically. There was even a suggestion on a feature idea also about a save and deploy button, so that instead of having to save and deploy separately, like if you would just do it in a single go, something like that. But yeah, have a look at the comments there. They're quite good. There are no open questions. There was someone mentioned of how yeah, how they were looking forward to the plugins, but you already share information about that. Yeah, I also shared the links on, for example, CPI Helper on the Chrome Web Store. And apart from that, the last open source project that you just mentioned about the CPI Grafana monitor. So I share all those there. Maybe that could be a potential session for next year. I don't know, but yeah. I also heard about that comment regarding yeah, that training where they use CPI Helper. So I've heard that as well. So yeah, yeah. I thought you were going to ask where is this photo taken from, and I did recognize the place because I was there last year in Tech India. There's no ticket in India this year, unfortunately. There's a main ticket, the virtual event, right? Which starts in the 8th of October. And apart from that, there's the in-person sort of event, the ticket and tours, right? So as you correctly mentioned, there is the one in Florida. There's also one in Copenhagen, which will happen. I think it's the 12th of October. No, sorry, 12th of November. Sorry. There's one in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia, part of the SAP Australia user group. There's another one in where else? I can't remember. The UKI one. That's in December as well. So there's many sort of this Tech It on Tours initiative opportunities for the community to get together, right? So have a look on where they are. But yeah, they will be happening in November and December. So have a look at that. Wait, there is one question now from Barbara. It says, for which type of projects are you personally using CPI and CPI Helper, as for HANA or SuccessFactors?
So we are like a little consultant company, so we have a lot of projects in different fields. But actually, so I work a lot with SuccessFactors. Also, CPI Helper, CPI has a direct adapter to SuccessFactor. That because like the OData adapter is OData adapter in SuccessFactor has some more features than the normal OData adapter, especially for SuccessFactor. So that's SuccessFactor is one field where I work a lot. But also, yeah, we to S4 is like we query a lot of S4 APIs and yeah, depending on the project, but yeah, mainly S4 and SuccessFactors, I would say.
Yeah, I just realized that, for example, here in your slide, you're missing the contact information there. But I would imagine that people can find you on LinkedIn, right?
Yes, of course. Just type my name in LinkedIn, or
Yeah,
otherwise
exactly.
dominic.beckbauer@kingolutions.com. But just check the GitHub page. Also there you will find some contact information. But oh yeah, you're right. That is missing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's okay. I actually share the GitHub repo where they can find you, and also your LinkedIn profile as well. Yeah, there are no further questions, I would say. So you know what? Yeah. So well, thank you very much, Dominic, for sharing all your knowledge and expertise, right, in CPI Helper. Nothing better than getting the information from the source. Thank you for the insider stories. I wasn't aware about that one regarding the data load, but it does make sense. Like in the end, it does end up calling the APIs. But you know, something I forgot asking one question. This will be the last question. So you mentioned how companies have obviously restrictions on the sort of installing this sort of add-ons, plugins, extensions to your web browser, right? So, but in the end, like at least the CPI Helper, all it does is communicate with the Cloud Integration APIs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What else does it do that will not be compliant to, for example, what a company environment? Nothing that I can think of, right?
I mean, this is mostly just a general, so you are allowed to install plugins or you're not allowed to install plugins.
Yeah.
So often it's not the CPI Helper the problem, but the policy that you're not allowed to install plugins. So, but really good question. So internally, we use the CPI APIs that the CPI itself is using. So for example, there's an API to activate the trace. What is actually not public. So, but we checked out, okay, if you press the normal trace button or like this drop down, so what is it doing in the background? And we try to do the same. So we are using the APIs that CPI itself is doing. Of course, we collect some anonymous statistic. but this is just to know, okay, which plugins were used and like if there was a crash or something. But it's so there's no private data going from your computer to another server. And yeah, so I heard that some company had a problem because we were using an outdated version of jQuery, but we changed this. So yeah, I guess it's mostly more, okay, you have the policy to use CPI Helper or not, or plugins or not. And yeah, I think this is the biggest problem for some companies. But also like with a few companies, we were already like talking, and then they saw, okay, seems like this is a valid plugin, and they activated it.
Oh, awesome. Well, good to know that there is some flexibility, right? Because in the end, this is a lifesaver, as many have said on the chat. So yeah. Well, yeah. I think we can wrap it up. So thank you very much for the session. It was quite good. Lots of viewers, lots of good interactions in the chat. So thank you also as well to all the viewers for joining the live event, or, well, you know what, if you're watching this a bit later, so thank you for the recording. For watching the recording, right? And well, there's plenty for everyone to learn during the TourFest, not just about integration, but all the different technologies that SAP has. So yeah, have a look at the different sessions that we have available that are part of the TourFest 2024. And thank you for joining. Thank you, Dominic.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Ciao.
Ciao.